Hello, I'm Reverend Kenny Callahan, the pastor of Metropolitan Community Church of Richmond. This coming Sunday's sacred text is taken from John's story, the 3rd chapter, verses 14 to 21. Within this sacred text passage is the most famous, most well-known verse in the entire Bible, John 3:16. For God so loved the world that God gave God's only Son, so that everyone who believes in him may not perish, but have eternal life. And I have a confession to make. I don't care much for this sacred text. In fact, deep down inside me, I don't like it at all. Sometimes I just plain hate it. There have been times in my life when I couldn't stand to hear the words of John 3:16. Let me explain by asking a question. How would you feel if someone died for you? My hunch is it's not all that hard for most of us to imagine the incredible sense of gratitude we would feel for that person. Now, imagine it wasn't just an impulsive act of bravery, like someone pushing you out of the way of a car or something like that. Rather, someone knew you were in mortal danger and deliberately exchanged their life for yours. Suddenly, it's just not gratitude you may feel, but a profound sense of debt. How can you possibly make it up to someone who has given you so much? This is essentially the picture that Jesus offers of God. What Jesus is saying in this sacred text is that God didn't simply send Jesus to deliver a message, but that God sent Jesus to give his life for you and for me. This is why there is something troubling, even scandalous at the heart of this passage. And notice that God didn't ask our opinion. God didn't ask our permission, nor does God even consult us. In fact, God gives no objection, but just goes ahead and gives Jesus over to die. Do you see what I mean? Part of me is incredibly grateful, and part of me is pretty indignant. How dare God sacrifice so much for us, and by doing so, have such a claim on us? It's not just scandalous, but if you think about it, it's offensive, and it leaves us absolutely out of control. And yet, here's the deal. Precisely because we are not in control of God, and therefore we are not in control of our relationship with God. It is the one relationship we can't blow, the one relationship that we can't screw up. God has taken complete responsibility for this one, and God has promised to love us even if we walk away from God or disagree with God or even not even trust in God. God's love for us has absolutely nothing to do with us, but has everything to do with God. This is why I find John 3:16 so difficult, so offensive, and at the same time, so desperately hopeful and life-giving. This is why it is both my least and most favorite verse in the Bible, because it promises that God will never let us go, that God will not take no for an answer, because God will pursue us until we are God's own, like it or not.